Going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over a set of pretty major gameplay changes that were recently implemented as a test into Fortnite. And many people are claiming that the adjustments contained in this testing are some of the absolute best that have ever been made in Fortnite history. The changes I'm referring to were added on a limited time basis into the Scavenger Pop-Up Cup, which is basically a 5-hour long in-game solos tournament. And in this Pop-Up Cup, there were 3 core gameplay changes that were being tested all at the same time. First, a brand new max materials cap. Instead of 999 wood, 999 brick, and 999 metal, it was changed to 500 wood, 500 brick, and 500 metal. So pretty much cut almost exactly in half from the normal cap. Next, the harvesting rate of all materials was increased by 40%, meaning you gain 40% more materials when farming anything in-game. And finally, an interesting form of lifesteal was added into Fortnite. As the patch notes directly describe it, players gain 50 health when eliminating an opponent. If health is full, players will receive shield. And as I mentioned, the initial response to these changes were overwhelmingly positive. Some examples of post titles from online forums discussing these changes include Scavenger is the greatest thing Epic has ever done, popular opinion, Scavenger Cup tournament was way better than Alpha/Beta tournament, adding the plus 50 HP per kill to the normal game modes is one of the best things that can be done in Fortnite right now, and finally, the changes Epic are testing in the Scavenger Cup are perfect for the future of Fortnite going forward. And according to Liquid Poach directly, Epic is currently running pro player custom lobbies with the settings from the Scavenger Cup. So Epic clearly has at least some very real interest in using these new settings in much more than just an LTM or in-game tournament. But much like a lot of the recent changes in Fortnite, and especially the major ones, there's some clear positives as well as some clear negatives here. So I want to discuss those positives and negatives as well as what impact these changes would potentially have on public match Fortnite if implemented into regular old solos, duos, and squads. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so let's start this off by discussing the first change of cutting the material cap basically in half from 2,997 to 1,500 on the dot. I'm definitely on the fence about this change, and it certainly has its own set of positives and negatives that are worth discussing. I like the fact that with a 1,500 material max cap, you have to be a little bit more tactical and smart with your building as a whole. In situations where you get lucky enough to be blessed with 3,000 materials, you can really just build forever, and it gets to a point where you can basically just keep building until your opponent inevitably runs out of materials before you. And this change also helps reward aggressive players that are consistently able to establish high ground in build fights. The times you burn through materials the fastest in Fortnite is when you're trying to retake high ground from someone and when you're defensively turtling. So if you play aggressive, constantly establish high ground and force players into turtling positions, everybody around you is going to be using a major chunk of their 1,500 mats, while you're going to be using very little of your 1,500. But overall, I think that 500, 500, 500 is just a tad bit too low. It wasn't super noticeable in the Scavenger Cup because that was a solo tournament, so you were mostly just fighting 1v1s the entire time, but there were still situations where I would go down to about 500 materials after killing a guy and then immediately get third party. And 500 mats is more than enough in a lot of situations to defend yourself and kill someone, but if you run into a really good player, you'll burn through that very, very quickly. And then you're stuck in one of the worst situations in all of Fortnite where you're trying to fight a player who has materials while you have none. So I think a cap more in the range of 700, 700, 700 would definitely work a little better than the 500, 500, 500 cap. This is especially important if these changes are planning to be implemented into duos and especially squads where you burn through materials like crazy in long team fights. Now moving on to the next change, which is the